to trace a rose gold Peugeot 208. Been involved in the incident. If you have any information, you're asked to call the non-emergency News 101. Oxford Crown Court have heard how Britain's first acid attack killer doused an innocent
and shot excellently saved by Burn's experienced goalkeeper Carl Dennison. But it was the home team who scored further goals through Harris, his second on 63 minutes.
It's Wednesdays mid-morning with our coffee break from Mary J. Blige, and as mentioned a short time ago, the next feature, streaming live on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. I'm very pleased to welcome, we mentioned a little earlier on, they sound a bit like a gentleman's outfitters, Morgan and West, who it does sound like a gentleman's outfitters, doesn't it?
It does, and a Porsche dealership in LA, I believe.
Yeah, it actually genuinely is.
Yeah. So, but yes, hello, good morning.
Reece and Robert are with us to talk about your unbelievable science show, which is believable, of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The show believably exists.
It definitely happens.
Yeah, it does. Well, hopefully. I mean, we've not done it yet.
We've not done it yet.
We've done some versions
of it,
but we haven't done the ones in Northern Farm. So who knows? Maybe it won't.
I believe they'll happen.
Okay, well, that's fine. As long
so
as it's not
it is
Wycombe.
believable, but the science is unbelievable.
By the end of it, the science is believable. At the start, it's unbelievable. About halfway through, I think there's a sort of period of disbelief and self-doubt, but we get you through it.
We get you through it.
Yeah.
And we're going to do an actual experiment with this very soon. But talk to us a bit about sort of how you kind of came to this sort of field, if you like.
So we were scientists.
Yeah, we are.
We really don't look it.
Former scientists.
But we did science degrees, and we met doing science degrees, but we also did a lot of student theatre.
Yeah, and we met doing a play, in fact, and so for much of our career as magicians, we just did shows together.
Because we used to be magicians.
We still are magicians, but this is not a magic show. But we did magic shows and stuff for years and did shows together, and we kind of recently went, well, wouldn't it be nice to do like a family-friendly science fun extravaganza.
So we've taken all of the skills that we've learnt from the dark arts of conjuring and applied them, which is the new
and
the
the skills
strapline.
we learned from the dark art of science education.
Yes,
well.
okay, yeah, no, that's standing in front of a class because we used to be science teachers many years ago.
Oh, fantastic! I bet your classes were fun.
Everyone says that,
which is another conversation entirely. But we had fun teaching.
We had fun.
Yeah, and I'm sure the kids did sometimes.
No, who cares about that?
Did you teach together? Was your show like were your classes like?
We never team taught.
We never team taught.
That would have been interesting, I think. No, so I used to teach maths, and Rob taught chemistry
and physics.
Yeah, I taught a little bit of physics as well, but
so yeah, much. we didn't teach, but we taught in a very big school, so we were in the same school. We often get asked, people, they go, "Oh, your science lessons must have been amazing." I was like, "Well, yes and no. Like the whole point of this science show, Unbelievable Science, is the idea we're trying to build enthusiasm for science by making it cool and over the top and funny and brilliant and amazing."
Not like your classes,
because there are amazing teachers out there doing brilliant work, enthusing kids about science. But quite seriously, they also have to teach to a syllabus, and so it's difficult to do all of the fun stuff that you might want to try and do, whilst also getting everything else done in preparation for exams and all that sort of nonsense.
And in fact, even specifically in this show, we have deliberately steered away from spending ages talking about how things work. Because actually,
in fact, we almost never talk about how things
we
work.
almost never talk about how stuff works. We're just talking about broader concepts in science and the idea of how science in general works. Because you could spend so long going, and this chemical does this and that, but no one will remember that at the end of the show. So it just really slows down what is otherwise quite a spectacular thing.
And if people really kind of take something away from it and there's one little bit in the show that they really want to look up, they can go and look it up, and we talk to people after the show and we'll tell them all the information they need, or we'll talk to them a little bit about how it works then. And like self-discovery is a better way to learn than being spoon-fed information.
Exactly, yeah, there's no point in me giving you a list of chemicals to help make things happen if you can go away and look it up yourself.
There's a reason that all my physics textbooks at university had an exercise for the reader, which I hated, but it turns out that was the way to learn.
That is how you learn things.
That is how you learn things.
So I suppose it must be quite rewarding if a youngster comes to your show and then wants to go and try and do something similar at home.
Absolutely. We had someone, a child the other day, come up to us and say he was doing like a show and tell thing at school and really wanted to do something, and could we think of something he could do? And we basically said, well, that thing in the show, on a much smaller scale,
we've got a few optical illusions, and some of them you can do at home. You just need to print them out and do them.
Here are things you can do, and that's a cool thing.
The bipolar Tesla coil with 240,000 volts, less doable at home.
Can't do that
less
at home.
Doable at home.
That is tough to do at home.
That is tricky. Yeah.
But we really like the idea that, this is a show that conversations happen about on the way home and the next day, and people are saying to us on Twitter and Facebook and things, they're saying, like, we talked about this the whole drive home, which is, when we come from a history of doing magic shows, the problem with doing a magic show is that because magic is fake.
Very fake.
That the conversation that a child can have with their parent
magic
is like...
is fake?
Absolutely.
It is, trust me, it's my job. But the conversation, therefore, that kid has with their parent on the way home was like, that was amazing, and the parents either go, yeah, it was, or they go, well... And that's all the conversation you can have about that. Whereas the really nice thing about this show is that we're spending quite a long time after the show outside answering questions from the children.
And asking them, I'd imagine.
And asking them as well. Asking them what they
Usually,
liked.
did you enjoy the show?
Yeah, did you enjoy the show is our main one.
That's the main question.
But
Can you help with the packing up? Is that another question?
I mean, I
wouldn't trust them.
No, some of the things would just crush the children.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's really nice being able to have those conversations with people and being very open about what happened in the show, because it's not secret, it's not hidden, it's not magic, it's real stuff that we can explain if people want to know.
And a really nice way to introduce people to the subjects as well. I know that both of you know Matt Parker, who we spoke to recently as well, and he's been a maths teacher, and he's making maths fun, and you're doing that with science as well.
That's what we're trying to do, and we're encroaching on his turf a little bit.
We basically are.
We're going to have to put a maths bit in the show.
Yeah, we'll have to put a maths bit in the show, really.
In fact, Matt is the voiceover at the start of the show.
Yeah,
we have a voiceover welcoming us on, and it's Matt Parker.
For fans of Numberphile or Matt Parker's YouTube channel, you will recognise his voice introducing us to the stage at the start of the show.
His dulcet Western Australian tones.
That's a nice preview. And when we spoke to him, it was raining as well. But it's nice as well that you do that with those two subjects. But I can't imagine it might not work for other subjects. Like if you were geography teachers, for example, then perhaps maybe.
Oh no, you can absolutely do it. Again, so much of the show is about enthusiasm. It's about making the subject fun and interesting. We did science at university because we had teachers we liked. Because I remember, like, my GCSE chemistry teacher was just so cool and fun and bonkers that I wanted to do chemistry, because I was like, this is amazing, I'm really enjoying this. And actually often what you're doing in classrooms and that is you are entertaining the kids in like proximity to a subject, and is how you get enthused about it. But that's the same in anything.
The key thing is the people who are giving you the information, if they've clearly got a genuine enthusiasm and passion for what they're doing, that's going to rub off on you. Whether that's geography or history or physics or maths or art or textiles or anything like that, it's going to rub off on you if they're really keen about it. If it's just, right, here we go then, mark the mountains on the map, then it's, that's not fun.
Yeah, things that are presented to children as a task or a chore are things that they don't enthuse about, whereas, like, kids like football and superheroes because they're presented in a fun, like, active way.
I really liked geography at school because I loved learning about how volcanoes worked. That's really cool, with subduction of plates and all of that sort of thing, and I've just realised I can't remember any other geography words, so I'm going to stop there.
Abduction as well?
I can't remember.
Longshore drift, that was a thing, wasn't it?
Longshore drift, yeah. I narrowly avoided doing a GCSE project on longshore drift. Did it on weather instead.
There you go.
Took the weather station home for a summer.
But so much of it is, it's just about showing people cool stuff. It's just going, here is a bunch of cool science stuff that is real and you can really do if you have the stuff, but it's just about having fun with it. It's not, we're not just reciting a textbook.
And there's so many elements to science as well. Well, there are so many elements in science as well. That's a science.
Quite a few. I know very little about the elements, whereas that's a physics degree for you, whereas chemistry
208. But yeah, and we work quite hard on the show to have bits. There's sort of chemistry bits and physics bits and sort of neurobiology bits and stuff, but without trying to shoehorn them into, like, and now a bit about physics.
Because the show itself is about science, and literally about science. It's about what science is and how we do science and why we do science, rather than being about specific sections of science. I've said the word science now so many times, it's lost all meaning.
And so when we have sections, we do have a bit that's kind of about atoms, and we have a bit that's about gravity, but those bits really are about the ideas in science that evolve, or the idea of asking questions and the way we answer questions in science, because those ideas are much more important. The idea of questions or of ideas or of development, that's much more important than any set of specific facts we could talk about in the show. And so often the actual science stunts or experiments, whatever we're doing,
they're just window dressing.
They're window dressing for bigger ideas.
But it's fascinating as well, isn't it, that science is can be such an interesting subject, whereas perhaps others, can't be. I know I especially enjoy going to the Science Museum on a school trip rather than perhaps like a field trip in a field.
I mean, that's just because at the Science Museum you get to grab stuff and move it around, whereas in a field you've got to put a bit more effort in. I quite enjoy fields at the moment.
Yeah, I love a field.
I love being outside.
Oh, I'm not doing fields down.
Well, okay, that's fine. As long as we're all on the same page.
Let's not knock fields.
Let's not knock fields.
You could do science in fields.
You can. I did science in fields for a master's project, watching trying to desperately measure the particulates ejected by an airplane's tyres. That was a fun 2 days.
That's not in the show.
That's not in the show. No, gosh, yeah, that was a long time ago.
Come and see the show; it'll be fantastic. But it's unbelievable science. It's on at Northern Farm, and you're going to be very soon doing an experiment with us.
Yes, indeed. For that, what you're going to need is 2 or 3 matchboxes. Empty them out, and then fill one of those matchboxes full of pennies, or 2 pennies, or 5 pennies,
stones, or
anything heavy,
anything heavy,
and not popcorn.
No,
That's a good tip.
Or aerogel,
or sponge.
or anything that's not heavy.
Yeah.
So yes, fetch those items. We're back in a few moments' time. Here
love music, love talk, love Wycombe sound.
Deadlines to meet, targets to reach, clients to see. You're busy, and the last thing you need is to be thinking about your business IT. Take the headache out of it.
Hopefully you've assembled some things for your experiment, as Morgan and West are with us, who would describe themselves as...
magicians, time travellers, all-round spiffing chaps is the usual tagline.
Slash scientists.
Yeah, so now we've got to find some way of crowbarring science in a way that scans well. So we'll get there.
We'll think about it.
Boffins. Boffins is good.
Boffins, yeah. That's a good one. I do like being a boffin.
Yeah, it sounds quite mysterious as well.
I know, I was bullied at school when I was a kid for being a boffin.
Oh,
so
really?
It's always got negative connotations
Oh,
for me.
Whoops.
It's all right. Who's got the last laugh now?
So we needed some items. I know these are sort of playing card boxes, so we not necessarily need.
We had them lying
matchboxes.
around.
Yeah, so we've got lots of playing card boxes. But yeah, so playing card boxes, match boxes. Importantly, what you do is you get 3 match boxes, empty out 2 of them, or actually empty out all 3 of them.
3 of them, really.
And fill one of them with pennies.
Or
and
something heavy.
Something heavy.
Not popcorn.
And then not popcorn, it's too light. And then you stack them. 2 empty ones, bottom empty, middle empty, top one is the full one. So that's what we've done here. We've got 3 playing card boxes, the bottom 2 are empty, and the top one is full. And all you have to do is reach over and pick them up all at once with one hand.
Does it matter which hand?
No, left or right, your choice. Pick them up all at once.
Yep.
And then put them back down, and then just pick up the top one on its own.
Oh.
Oh,
indeed.
That is the
This is
sound
what
of
I'm-
surprise.
Would you like to voice that?
This is where
Do it again, do it again.
You can do it again.
All at once, and then just the top
That's
one.
a
always
very
works.
strange sensation.
It's a very strange sensation,
I'll
isn't it?
explain what just happened. So I picked up 3 playing card boxes, fairly-ish heavy. Then I put them down. Then I picked up the top one, but that was heavier than all of them together.
It feels heavier
Yeah, it
than all
feels
of them
heavier
together,
than
doesn't
all of
it?
them together.
How weird is that?
Which obviously
Very
is
strange.
impossible because you were lifting the first one
and you're lifting
amongst
less.
the 3.
You're lifting less the second time round. You're just
Yes.
lifting the top one.
This doesn't make any sense at all.
Absolutely not.
It doesn't
no.
make any sense at all. And
Can I do
there's-
it again?
Yeah, you can do it as many times as you like.
It'll
It'll never change.
You can do this with see-through boxes. It still works.
And you can literally put anything in
You
it.
can put as long
It's quite heavy.
as long as the top one is heavy.
So all that we've got there is we've got a big block of steel in the top box. That's all it is. It has to be significantly heavy for the size of the object. So if it was a kind of just playing cards in there, it wouldn't feel heavy enough to you. But what's essentially going on is it's very, very similar to, you know, if you're having a drink and you've got a pint glass or what have you, and you've forgotten how much you've drunk out of it.
Yes.
And then when you reach for it, you think, I've got a full glass, and you lift it up, and all
You're
of a
sort of
sudden
prepared for-
and you half throw it over yourself, kind of thing. It's exactly the same, but the opposite way around.
The opposite way around. So essentially, because obviously the muscles in your arms and hands and everything are strong enough to lift like big, heavy things. But you're not using all of those muscles when you lift something lighter. So actually, every time you pick up anything, your brain is kind of estimating how heavy that thing is and going, this is how much force it will take to lift this up.
It's like when you hold an egg, you don't accidentally just crush it in your hand because you know how much force you're supposed to use to hold an egg.
And what's happening here is that as you pick up all 3 boxes, your brain essentially is sort of... well, this is the idea of roughly how we think it works, is your brain sort of stores an idea of how heavy those 3 things are. And goes, okay, those 3 boxes weigh a kilogram, say. And then when you go to pick up the top one...
It does a quick mental calculation of, well, if 3 of them weighed a kilo, then one of them's probably about a third of a kilo.
So it sort of spreads it out.
So I only need to use about a third of a kilo's worth of force to lift that box.
But obviously, the bottom 2 boxes weigh basically nothing because they're empty. So actually, all the weight is in that top box. And so your body is now, or your brain is now telling your arms and your hands, only lift enough for 350 grams, say. But actually, that thing almost weighs a kilogram. And your brain experiences this as that box having got heavier.
Yes.
Despite the fact it hasn't changed in weight at all,
No.
but
I'll do it again.
relative to the
Bit more
force
like
that you're expecting to use, it
That's
is
really
much heavier.
strange.
And you can do it again and again and again,
Yeah.
and it will keep happening. It's invariant.
So you're not
It
sort of
doesn't-
training, you're not becoming...
So if you do it enough, we've had to play, because we were playing around with putting it in the show in a big version, but it's not in the show anymore. It's just things that we like to do kind of as a little cool thing. We've done it so many times that it works less well on us now.
Yeah, because we've trained ourselves to be prepared for
You
it
know
being
it's gonna
heavier, and because of that, we are essentially instinctively telling our arms and our hands, it's going to be heavier, so lift with more force.
It
which
still
means
feels a little bit heavier,
Doesn't
but
it?
not in
Yeah.
the same way that I imagine you're experiencing, where it's a significant
Yeah, yeah.
change.
Because the first time you do go, what is going on?
Yes.
But there's no trickery to it. It's just the way your brain interprets.
And you can try this at
information.
home, and when the kids come home, you can try it with them, and just neighbours and everything. And it's a great little a little party trick to do. And now you know the explanation, so you
Yeah.
can explain it as well. And that's the.
Does it work different way around? So if you had it in the middle one, for example, would
So you can put it on the bottom and then lift the top. It doesn't work as well.
Right.
The best way to do it is with it on the top, because then you are making your brain make the biggest change.
I think also because the way that the force acts is that by having it on the top, the force is acting down through the other 3, so it's harder to get a sense of where the weight is. Whereas if you imagine picking up like a big cardboard box that you can't see into, and there's a bunch of weight in the bottom, you can kind of tell that the weight is at the bottom. And so I think your brain is better, if the weight's on the bottom, your brain's better at interpreting the fact that that is a heavy thing with two light things on.
Not expecting the weight to be at the top.
You're not expecting the weight to be at the top, so you average it out between the three.
It's why you have to do it with small boxes, or if you do it with larger boxes, you have to be quite careful about how you do it. We did a lot of... I spent several days in the office just with varying sizes of boxes and large amounts of weights just lying around.
I was going to say, because this is quite sort of small scale, isn't it? But if you did it with bigger things...
So we've done it with sort of like 35-litre storage boxes, where we filled one of them with weights and had the bottom one empty, but you can only really do it with two because you can't quite get your arms around it.
You need to be a lot bigger.
You can't pick the second time up. It's really funny. If you put sort of 30 kilos of weight, the second one we couldn't pick it up.
Yeah, you lift both boxes and you go, gosh, they're heavy. Then you lift the top one and you almost can't lift it.
Too heavy.
Even though actually, obviously, you just lifted it. A second ago, you just lifted it.
Your mind has been tricked, and also your muscles clearly as well.
It kind of makes you wonder how sort of like strongman competitions and things like that, how much of getting past certain bits is the mental kind of, I can lift this.
Yeah.
Because it must be a very similar thing going on.
Because it's sort of more to do with the distribution of the weight as well.
Yeah, it's
and just so much about how you brain. So there's a bunch of sections in the show where we've made big physical versions of illusions, often optical illusions, and the real struggle with that is that it's very hard to work out how they work, and so we've had to make tons and tons of versions of things. Going, does this look bigger than that? Does that actually look bigger, or does it look bigger because I think it's meant to look bigger, or because I think it's meant to look bigger, does it actually not look bigger? But compared to someone that does, and we've spent a long time staring at things, going, I can't tell anymore.
No,
I might just be thinking.
There's an audio illusion in the show as well where it's kind of like a garbled sentence, and as soon as you're told some information about it, you can understand it. The problem with that is when you're making them yourself, you
already know what it says.
You already know what it says, so you can't hear it as being garbled, and you get one shot when you send it to someone else to work out, is it garbled enough? Is it too garbled? That was a nightmare.
That was a nightmare.
That was an absolute nightmare.
It's the funny thing about doing a science show compared to a magic show is that in a magic show you have an idea and you go, here's the idea we're going to do, how do we fake it? And you try a way of faking it, and if that doesn't work, you can just try another way of faking it. Whatever cheaty way you can think of to get there, as long as you create the same effect, you can keep that bit in the show. Whereas we've had lots of bits where we've had an idea for a science thing, and it just doesn't work.
We had
or it does work and doesn't read for an audience.
A taste and smell illusion. So we have bottles and bottles and bottles of icing flavouring in the house, like coffee and mint and this and that. Trying to find one, none of them works.
Because there are things you can trick people's brains and stuff with. If you drink a thing expecting it to taste of one thing and it tastes of something else.
Like the idea that apple and cherry sweet flavours are basically the same apart from the colour and that sort of thing, you know.
Or that blindfolded it's very hard to tell the difference between room temperature red wine and room temperature white wine, because so much of your sense of it, again, comes from expectations and things. But making that stuff work for the stage is very difficult. And there's no wine in our show.
There is no wine. And sorry we didn't bring any wine for this, we just bought the boxes. Yeah,
disappointing. Also, what's nice about this, I think, as well, is that obviously when you've done sort of magic tricks as well, to explain that, it kind of spoils it a bit.
Yeah,
but with this, it really helps to explain it, because you have that sort of initial sensation of, oh, this is quite strange, and then you're sort of explaining why, and then people will go, oh, wow.
Yeah, and you can do it again and again. That's the beauty of this. Is
magic's not repeatable.
No. Whereas this little demonstration is very repeatable.
Very repeatable.
Very repeatable.
And what are some of the highlights of the show, would you say?
Oh,
without spoiling it, obviously.
So we start with explosions and chemistry. We end with 240,000 volts and lightning on stage, and everything in between is a lot of fun, I'd say.
Yeah. And some silly jokes.
Oh, lots of silly jokes.
Just lots of silly jokes.
Lots of silly jokes. I mean,
and suitable for all ages.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, I say all ages. Most ages.
Most ages.
Yeah, I think anyone under 5 a lot of it's going to go straight over their heads, and they won't get the jokes. But sort of 7, 8, 9 plus, that's the ideal age. But also adults really enjoy it.
We've had adults come on their own.
If you've seen our shows before and you like our sense of humour, you will enjoy this show regardless of age.
Yeah.
It does sound excellent, I must say. And as I was saying to you off air, we spoke to Alex from Northern Farm, who took her nephew to see the show. Found it very, very funny.
Good. I'm very glad.
Yeah. So it's obviously going well.
It is. Yeah, we're having fun.
What other sort of reaction have you got from audience members?
Oohs, ahs, clapping,
gasps. Someone the other day yelled in the middle of the show at me, "Stop it, you crazy man!"
Which was fun.
Which I will take as high praise.
Was that a relative or?
Just some random child.
Just
some random child.
Just seen enough.
Yeah. Sometimes the kids get very vocal at times with certain bits. And especially obviously because some of the stuff we're doing is very
unbelievable.
Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And like there are one of the chemical reactions we do especially looks like a camera trick. And so you get lots of the kids being like, what's going on?
Yeah.
How did that work?
It's fun doing a family show where you can hear what the kids are saying and
Yeah.
hear their reactions and.
That must be really rewarding for you as well, because it's like, yes, it's worked. And
Yes, exactly. Yeah. You instant feedback. It's the great thing about doing family shows. Instant feedback. Adult shows, oof,
There are a lot more reserved.
and then at the
about
end,
stuff.
well done, handshake.
Well done, you.
Say it in the show, But
But again, the nice thing about not doing magic, we love doing magic, but the nice thing about doing a science show is that people feel less guarded about reacting to things because they know it's real. Whereas with a magic show, sometimes people don't want to give away the fact that they're impressed because they feel like, oh, you tricked me and I don't like the fact you tricked. Whereas with this, if we have something that blows up or sets on fire or changes colour or whatever,
they're allowed to go. Woo!
they're allowed to go, ooh, because
you wouldn't really want people just sat there going, ooh, that was good.
Yeah.
So it would quite internally just.
yeah, but then they're allowed to respond to it because they know it's really happening. It's a thing they've actually seen, not a thing we've tricked them into thinking they've seen.
And what also sounds really good is it's a really nice sort of thing to do during half term, because I'm sure lots of kids will want to be playing on their device or something. But let's go and see a live science show. It's, oh yeah, fantastic.
Exactly. It's some would say it's the ideal family day out.
You could say it's the perfect family day out.
On the 28th of October.
Particularly good on the 28th of October.
Should you be in the Maidenhead Northern Farm area?
It's perfect because it's too early to start the Halloween stuff.
Yes,
Like it's
yeah,
a
yeah,
couple of days too early for that.
Yeah.
So what you do in that pre-Halloween lull, you go see a science show.
What else
A
to
bit
do?
of science chat, maybe spend the next day doing some fun experiments at home, then straight into the Halloween.
Straight into the pumpkins.
Straight into the pumpkins.
Yeah.
And perfect if the weather's not good because it's indoors.
It is indoors,
Yeah.
These shows do
or,
not
or
work
if the
outdoors.
weather's good, take a break from the lovely weather.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's what we say.
You don't want it to be too sunny, do you?
No, you
No,
don't
if
want
it's
that.
too sunny, you want to go
Not the
outdoors
end
for
of
at least an
October.
hour.
Yeah, exactly.
About an hour. Is that
About an hour.
About
About an hour, give or take.
About how much time you want out of the sun.
Yeah.
It's been brilliant. How can people find out more? I'd imagine check out the Northern Farm website, which is
Yeah,
northern.farm.
or go to morganandwest.co.uk where all of our live dates are, so you can see if where we are in the surrounding areas.
Just
and-
follow us around the country.
Yeah,
Literally.
Just follow us in the street, really.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for bringing this. I'll keep doing this. I hope people are doing this at home as well.
It's really worth doing. Please do try. If you're thinking, oh, I won't bother, then come on.
It is unbelievable. It's an unbelievable
literally.
sensation.
It's worth doing.
And you don't necessarily need matchboxes. You can do it with
Three
easy play.
similarly sized
Any
boxes.
size similar boxes.
3 similarly sized boxes.
If you're working in a
Something
warehouse
heavy.
going, I've got
Yeah.
boxes.
Yeah, I mean, you need a lot of pennies to fill sort of
Yes,
like
yeah.
a 50-litre box, but go for it.
Thank you very much again for coming in. It's been fantastic to
Having
Yes, time.
pleasure.
Morgan and West speaking to us here at Wycombe Sound, and they're on, as mentioned. Have we mentioned it enough, do you think?
Oh, you never mention it enough, can you?
The
28th
28th of October at Northern Farm. Kick-off is at
11:30 a.m. or 2 p.m.